welcome Atlanta United family to another episode of Resurge the Spike ATL here with Tommy and James. Fo- follow these guys at Let's Go. Tommy is Let's Go Ducks 96 on
Pineda,
Twitter.
maybe.
Pineda, maybe I literally just saw that. That's why I kind of laughing. James Cowdomus 26. Go follow us as well on YouTube. Subscribe to our content at Fila Sports Podcast. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, so go follow our content. Uh, you know, share it. That's what we're here for. Comment as well. So, going back to last week against Chicago, we take away, we go away against Chicago, and we get a point. Literally, I said it on the spaces afterwards. I mean, I did not watch the first half of the game because I literally was stuck at work. So I listened to it during the like the ride home, but I mean. It seemed like the same thing literally all over. Tommy, you're literally like you're hitting the Steph Curry celebration. I don't know if like that means that
I fell
that's good.
asleep. Like it was boring. It was a damn boring game. It was just the first. I mean, they looked better in the first half because everybody started. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of what we wanted. We got closer to a lineup that we liked. Amada starts, which we find out that entire blow up was for nothing. That Pineda was basically covering for him for being sick and still recovering from it. Which, why don't you just say that? Lord Almighty, that'll come in my rant later. But it. He missed a wide open net. A wide. I mean, we should have been up 1-0, and it was disappointing. But it first half was there. Second half, it was scary. There were just there were a lot of opportunities for Chicago, and then you get the offside call, which was big, and you really didn't see many chances after that. Unfortunately, it was just a game. I mean, Chicago's been good, lately. Their defense has been a little bit better. I mean, we held them to no goals. It's whatever, man. It's just what it was. Like I left the game and I was like, okay, I'm going out with my day. It was probably one of the best games that I didn't have to do a spaces for. I was so happy there was WrestleMania on like right afterwards. That's what I did. I did not want to talk about this game at all.
It was just boring. I wasn't in the space, but I bet it was just Boca. So, if I had to guess. But yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say. It was boring. I mean,
Yeah,
watching
it really
watching
was.
it back, it's whatever. But yeah,
We talk about boring. Sorry, just real quick.
Yeah.
Did anybody see the season ticket holder thing where they were like, the season's been full of action?
yeah, I got that.
Where was that at? Where's this action been? Because I haven't seen much of it at all.
No,
Pretty
not
ballsy
many.
to send after a 0-0 game. Jesus.
Well, I mean, I take the draw though, since we haven't won an away game since April, and we lost the last one, so we weren't going to win anyway.
Jesus. I just started drinking. This is my first beer, I swear. Like,
You sure, man? Because I mean,
it's
you said
insane.
you was
Like,
talking
how
about
we not won a road game since April? And what game was it? I don't even know what game it
DC,
was.
Marcelino Moreno,
yeah.
last minute header. We shouldn't have even won that game.
I'm pretty sure like we hadn't won a home game last year for like an extended period of time, and then we won in Columbus when I was there. So
Yeah.
that'll probably be our next win is in Columbus when I'm there.
It was like 3-2, right?
That was a good game. There was like 3
Yeah.
disallowed goals by Columbus. It was like they were trying to give us that game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so what going what Self is asking, Tommy, is Pineda out?
Pineda
You're
maybe,
Pineda maybe
actually.
he's out, maybe
I'm
not.
Pineda curious. Like that's just kind of that's kind of how I am. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get to my rant.
So I mean, basically that pretty much wraps it up about the Chicago game last week, and going into the injury rooms and the transfer, not transfer rumors, but technically the transfers that were already announced, but before the injury updates, Tommy, you know, the guys coming in who's going to be coming in for the team. You know, this couple games that are left of the season.
I mean, you're getting Gutman back. I mean, he came back, played a little bit, looked okay. Um,
Mm.
thought it was nice to have him back. Give Wiley a break, and hopefully you start seeing. I'd rather see Wiley than Cisneros playing forward. Um, if we could get that for the rest of the year, I'd be happy if that can make it. I mean, Ronald Hernandez is almost back. And he's training, so you probably just see him as a sub. I mean, Hernandez is just he hasn't been anything spectacular all season. He finally gets the starting spot to show what he has, and then Shuttleworthless lands on him, and then he's out. So we haven't seen anything. I'm just gonna be wild tonight.
Did you mention Brooks Lennon yet?
I mean, what's going on with Brooks?
His
haven't heard.
timeline is Cincinnati, maybe, but I doubt it.
So next week.
Yeah, he should start training. Maybe.
Well, he'll probably sub, and then if that, I think there's a midweek game, and then they have Columbus. So maybe he starts that midweek game, or maybe in Columbus. From there. So I mean that's nice. Really, I mean McFadden's played a lot, and I mean with Hernandez coming back, it gives McFadden a little bit of a breather, which I think is needed for him because he's probably one of the guys that runs the most out of any game. And I think that a few of these guys, especially Wiley and McFadden, have just been, run down. And it's just because there's lack of depth behind them. So it's nice that, Wiley's able to get a little bit of a break. McFadden's break is coming here probably soon. I still expect McFadden to start against Seattle, and then you probably see Hernandez come in later in the game. Maybe he plays. I mean, it seems like that's a Pineda type thing to do, is to ease him into, 30 minutes ish, and then then the next game possibly start. So that's nice to see. Mascara's practicing, but I expect that we don't see him at all. Maybe he could be on the bench this week, but highly doubtful. I know Doug tweeted that he was practicing, and then about 30 seconds later said never mind, he's not practicing with the team, but he was just there. So thanks, Doug. But yeah, I mean, I will probably see him in a couple weeks, and I don't know where. I don't know. Does Mascara take over the Cisneros role? I don't know.
There's a lot of shifting that's gonna happen because I don't know if we'll play that same formation too that we played on Saturday.
Well, and then you lose George Campbell, right? Like
That's
Campbell.
True, yeah.
Campbell's out, which is interesting. And honestly, this probably comes at a good time for him. Like it's not a serious injury.
2-3
he's
weeks,
been garbage.
Right?
He hasn't been very good.
No.
I think that he needs a break. He's another guy that I don't think expected to play that much. Another young guy. Granted, not as young as some of the other ones. I mean, I don't know what his age is compared to. He's probably close to McFadden, but not where Wiley is. But he didn't expect to play that much this season, and he looks run down as well. So
yeah,
it is what it is at this point.
You think we could go with the 4-3-3 with all the DPs out there, possibly?
I think you got to try it, right?
Yeah.
Parada, I mean, going, also to another point, and that's honestly the reason why I'm wearing this Tigres jersey is because of Parada, man.
Player of the month.
Yeah, I mean, he's come up huge. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, he's exceeded the expectations that I had for him. Literally, I mean, he's a guy that did not have many, first team appearances back in Mexico, so. For him to come in and, have the role that he's having, somewhat of, a leader in the back line. I mean, he's come up big, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, he's definitely by far the best signing, that we made. And I mean, we haven't seen Godinho, we haven't seen Mascara, but the fact that we were lacking, that, I guess, that security to a certain point, in the back line. But also, you need some explosiveness and, the guys that you have or that you brought in or whatever. But, with Parada, definitely, man, I mean, he's come up big for Atlanta United.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, this gives you a chance to even though I love Alan Franco, to sell Alan Franco and take Prada's buy option, like
Yeah.
from what I've seen. Then you have Campbell and Washington behind them. That's what I'm seeing right now.
Technically, can't they recall him at the end of the season?
Yeah, if they
Don't we have
need
an
him,
option?
yeah.
I think they have an option to bring him back.
I thought did we not have a buy option? I thought we did.
Yeah, I mean, but there's a certain clause like in the contract or
Oh,
whatever
okay.
that, if they need him back within 6 months, which would technically be what at the end of the season,
Yeah.
Tigres could call him back, if for whatever reason, they have injuries or whatever the case may be, lack of depth. But I mean, he's come up big. I mean, definitely, I'll give him that.
Yeah.
I mean, you needed a guy. I think the moment I was sold, and it wasn't even something that I saw. I think they showed it a couple days later, and I think Jillian talked about it with us a couple weeks ago. Was how he was working with I think Wiley, and I think it was like right after Wiley like made a mistake and allowed a goal. Like he was working with him on the sidelines, and thing that we've talked about for a long time here is this team lacks leadership. We don't have a lot of leaders here, and I don't think Joseph's a leader. You could say, I mean, he could say a lot of things, and that's fine. You could have a vocal guy. I don't think he's a leader. Um, so there's a guy there that eventually, if we keep him and he doesn't, return to Tigres, can lead with Miles Robinson out there next season. And remember, Miles isn't probably going to be back at the beginning of next year. He's probably going to be, a few months into the season. So, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that back line. Maybe Campbell gets better. Maybe they try with a Campbell Prada, but it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward. But you need that leader right now. And, obviously he came up big in the Orlando game, which was nice. So it's nice to see that a guy has come in here that is working, and you have to assume that he has a very limited budget because we don't have a high budget. I mean, our cap space has always been pretty limited. We've always played pretty close to the cap, and with the injuries and the cap relief we've got, the minimal cap relief we've got from some of these injuries, I assume he was pretty cheap overall, which is something that we say a lot around here is Atlanta United does not get deals. They overpay. So if we got a guy on the cheap, it's just a win for us.
Yeah. So I mean, now we have a huge, we have a huge game coming up, and shout out,
Oh, it's John.
John. Yeah. Shout out to John. He's usually on, was on the podcast, commenting on later on. Pineda out. Tommy, come on, fam, just say Pineda out.
Pineda curious. That's all I'm going to say for the day.
He's got
like
something to
that.
say
That's a good
later
point.
on. He's trust me, guys. He's
We're
got
holding
something
it.
to say later
We're
on.
holding it
I'll chug this beer before that part happens.
till the sun goes down.
Yeah.
So going into this week, man, which I'll be there. So hopefully I don't catch another L.
It's
So
over.
hopefully I don't
no.
catch another L.
Oh, really?
No. So you always lose. You get hammered. Then you end
Not a
up
good sign, bro.
doing Facebook Live videos where I get in trouble somehow for telling you to chug your beers. Then you go on to Spaces and your girlfriend yells at you, or your wife, or whatever, your lady yells at you. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Yeah,
5 o'clock. You wasted.
the most exciting time of the year.
It'll be something similar if it goes down to how it was with Austin, man. Trust me. That was just miserable. But nah, man. I mean, going into this game, I mean, you have a full venue, against Seattle. It's a national televised game. We literally have like a good amount of national televised games, like like within a month span, basically. We have,
Undeservingly.
yeah, yeah, basically. But I mean, Seattle, they're not, in the run that you would think that they would be in going into this part of the season, basically. I don't know what told took from that CONCACAF champions run, like it's just I don't know. I don't think that Seattle comes in basically with the same attitude that they've came in against teams that
I was literally looking at that.
There's so many seats available.
I mean,
So
a lot worse
many.
earlier.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's a early, not early, but I mean 3. I don't know, man.
That's great because if it's a 3:00 game, you can get home and it doesn't ruin your
Exactly.
entire day. You could have brunch.
Exactly.
You could have a great brunch. You could go tailgate, have some drinks.
Who the hell has brunch at 5, 6 in the
No,
afternoon?
you have
bro?
brunch in the morning,
Before.
dummy. You have brunch before
Gotta
the
leave.
game. Then you go to the gate. You tailgate.
Mhm.
You watch the game. You get drunk, and then you could do whatever the hell you want afterwards. You're done at like 5:00. You've got like 7 hours for shenanigans.
No,
Exactly.
I definitely feel you on that. But I feel like if it goes bad, like you said, I'll probably end up getting hammered before the game even ends, before it's even halftime. But no, man, definitely. I feel like, I mean, realistically, like I want to get your guys' opinion. Like, what do we go
Nobody
into
has
this
brunch
match?
at 5:00. You have brunch in the morning. Does anybody not know what brunch is? Like,
Ariel
what is
does it.
going on?
Brunch
Brunch
you.
is like early morning, early
No, it's because
afternoon.
you didn't really explain the rest of like what
I
you
didn't
had
think
to
I
say,
had to
so-
explain brunch to people that are over the age of 5.
I got it.
Thank you.
Ariel thought he was gonna bring his brunch to the match. That's what he was thinking.
You don't bring brunch to the match. You have brunch and then you go drink and then you go. Oh God. Oh man. All right, continue. Sorry.
Yeah. But I mean,
No, realistically, I mean, what do we have to bring to the table against Seattle? Like talking about Pineda and the team, and what you have available. Like, what can you realistically say? I mean, do you expect the win? Do you expect the draw? What I mean, what do you expect?
You have to come in going for all 3 points because 12 games left, 6 of them are home. You need to win every single home game because obviously they can't get it done on the road. But I mean, I don't know what to expect. It depends on what Pineda does at the 11. I feel like it'll be a special one because maybe if he puts his brain together, he'll know that Seattle will play the same way that they always do, and he was there for how long? We should win this game based on that, and also they played last night. They played a lot of matches. They played LAFC. They looked terrible. And, they're out of form. They should be tired. This is the RSL game, once again, in my opinion.
Tommy? So, what about you, Tommy? What do you expect out of this game, from, against Seattle?
Sorry, I'm trying to get back. Get down.
I can still hear you.
Yeah. Okay, good. You got to win. I mean, it's an absolute must-win game for this team. So they have to bring their best lineup, and I mean, it's a big win it's a big game for Pineda. You're playing against your former guy. You know what they are. They're struggling right now. You are losing the fan base. You've got to win as many home games as possible. Going forward, for you, for your coaching career in Atlanta, and just possibly just you're playing for your job and you're playing for Boca's job too, and the players are too. I mean, a lot of these guys could be out of here by then, so I honestly expect a win in this game. I think that they'll win maybe 2-1, but we'll see. Just remember, I mean, after that Austin game, there was a lot of things said after that blowout loss, and even though Seattle's they're not doing very well right now. It's a big game because Seattle is, one of the top clubs historically in MLS. So I think that it's a game that they've got to come. They've 3-0 to Seattle. Jeez, they do that.
I mean,
we're gonna have another Joseph.
We might as well. I might as well put this banner up since everybody's coming out with their predictions beforehand. We
Are they
have
all losses?
John talking about. Honestly, I see 3-0. You know, we're playing against one of the West most decorated squads. But yeah, I mean the
I
form
mean,
that
we were one of
they're
the
in.
most decorated squads. What does that mean? We're
Yeah,
not
we are
decorated
too.
anymore. We're
Yeah.
not decorated right now. I mean, and Seattle's not decorated right now. So I think we gotta live in the moment, and it's two teams that are struggling.
Yeah, Seattle also has not created like any chances at all. I mean, last night they played all right, but they're dead. They're a dead team.
Yeah, and they're playing on short rest, which is another thing we
This
need to
is
take
the
advantage
Real
of.
Salt Lake game. It's that simple.
Yeah. Bruno's talking about you know,
That's
a 1-1.
respect.
Realistically, I see a 1-1, you know, or even a 2-2, you know, maybe. I don't know. I just see the time. I don't know. Hopefully, I don't know, man. I'm just so wrong with my predictions. I think nobody gets your predictions right. Literally, I mean, I never heard anybody talking about like, you know, oh yeah, we're gonna lose 2-1 last minute header or something like that. Like,
No,
but
I'll go
yeah.
3. I'll go 3-1 Atlanta.
Oh,
I'll get it right
That'd be
this
fun.
time. I mean, it's possible, but I mean, if we draw, it's not the end of the world. But I mean, we have to win. But if we draw, it's not the end. But we have to win.
so
I don't
talking
know what
about
it's.
1-1 as well.
Yeah, it's fair.
Struggling team and bad form going against us. Yeah, they're winning.
Yeah, possibly.
Seems
But
like it seems like, you know, like the whole ongoing scenario, but we haven't created any either. All right, so you know, now going to like the whole tactical, you know, like
ooh,
you know, aspect of it, you know, is the prodigy versus like the mentor, you know, how I mean I don't even want to ask because you know, like literally, like to a certain point, it's like, I mean, obviously, Smeltzer is like a more experienced guy. He's done it all in MLS, you know, and obviously, you know, in the I guess international level, you know, with the CONCACAF Champions League. But you know, when you look at it, you know, Pineda hasn't really brought to the table what you know Atlanta United, I guess, was you know sold that you know he was gonna be. I mean, literally, tactically, I mean, the guy, you know, is just not up to it. You know, I don't want to say, or yeah, to a certain point, you could argue, you know, the injuries have you know played a certain role in that.
They don't play roles in this team. Injuries don't affect anything.
they don't.
Exactly. I mean, but
They don't.
yeah, I
No,
mean,
I'm
like
being
it's
sarcastic. Damn
They
it!
don't.
I'm being
They
sarcastic.
don't.
no, I mean, to a certain point, I mean, you could argue, yeah, that you know they do. You could argue that, but I mean, literally, I mean, you still have talent
Mhm.
that is capable enough, you know, to win you the games because you know, on paper, you know, you look at it and like, yeah, but you just don't have any cohesion, but you know, within the team that you know you're able to say, yeah, you know, Pineda's doing something, you know, where he's able to get you know connections, you know, within certain, you know, certain guys, you know, like I mean, I don't remember who said something about you know Dom and you know Joseph having a you know a certain connection. Why the hell hasn't you know these guys gotten the opportunity you know to play more time together? I mean, there's certain you know obviously. I mean, another one that I would throw out, but I you know Sosa he hasn't really been available. But I mean Sosa apparently had a really good game. You know, um last game, and you know him, Rosetto. I don't even want to bring Rosetto, Hyman, Ibarra. I mean, they
Sadic.
have to be out of you know out of the team next year. Franco is another one. Cisneros is another one. I mean, and I'm just throwing names out there right now, but realistically, I mean, these are guys that are not bringing you anything, you know, to the team. I mean, you could pick up guys from USL that could be doing the same thing that they're doing. I mean, come
Probably at
on.
a cheaper rate if you
Yeah,
want to do that
exactly.
Yeah, we should
too.
get Robbie Mertz. We should have brought him up.
I mean, you if you had to take one person, I know this is kind of getting off topic, but like if you had to get one player off this roster at this time, you get one cut a year, or obviously you probably want to, sell him for something. For me, it's Rosetto. With the salary that he makes, with what he has, like I said earlier, like I saw in another chat, it was he's like 0.1 more assists chances created than Franco. That's insane. That's insane.
Franco did have that game against Cincinnati, though. We can't forget that.
It's no, and someone says Hyman here, but you got to go back, and I understand why you'd say Hyman, but like Hyman had a pay cut. Hyman basically cut his salary in half, from what I remember. I haven't looked at it. So Hyman did. So I like Hyman's experience in MLS. Obviously, I know that he came. He had another injury. The one injury, he didn't have a huge injury history prior to that. Obviously, something happened, but literally something's happened to everybody this year. So I don't want to. I don't think that's an argument here. I think Rosetto makes more than Hyman now, and he just hasn't done much. There's been a couple games where maybe he's got a couple good, moves here and there, but it's nothing that we have. And I know that Aruju loves him, and they're buddies and all that, but he's got to go. He's the first guy. If he's on this roster next year, I'm going to be extremely upset. I don't care if you take a loss on him. You got to get him off the roster and use that money better at any place possible.
My thing is, I think I've mentioned it earlier, and not earlier, but another podcast previous to this, is we have 3 to 4 guys that literally do the same thing in a game. Seta's just another guy, and I would rate Sage over Rosetto, right now, because at least he brings you a little bit more something than, just passing it back and forth, between players. But, when it comes to, building a midfield, you got to have a guy that's able to, break through the lines. 2, you gotta have somebody that's good defensively, able to break plays. That obviously the center defensive midfielder, and you gotta have that box to box player that is able to do both. That's able to give you something in attack. Able to basically come back and help out on defense as well. And you could obviously tell by the way that Atlanta plays that, you literally don't see that. You don't have any players that have that specific trait. The only one that you could argue is Sosa, but we obviously have not seen enough of him, until next game, or last game. But it's just, up to this point, we could argue the poor roster building, and that goes to Boca.
Yeah, midfield needs a complete overhaul. That's it.
Yeah. And it does. I think you expected Sosa a lot more this season than what you got. Obviously there was a lot of setbacks, the sickness, the injuries. You expected Sosa and probably Alonso to play a lot more. I don't think they were expecting Alonso to play as much as he did early on. But obviously, Sosa was still recovering. Got Ibarra, who has, at times, I think everyone has said, there's been games where he's looked very impressive. But when he gets a yellow early, and he is a hothead, and there's been many games where he's got a yellow in the first half, he disappears from the game. I think he knows that he just can't hold back. And he's eventually, I don't know how I don't think he's gotten a red yet, from what I remember, but I don't know how the hell that hasn't happened yet at this point. But, you looked at the beginning of the year, when you looked at just everything and how this roster was built, there was a lot of optimism, right? It looked like a decent team. The midfield, you really weren't sure how it was all going to work. And it's just been one issue after another. And now we know, I think we all knew that Sadich wasn't going to be an answer. We saw him last year, and yeah, when he came in, I think he came in when we had injuries last season, and he had a couple good games, and then he came back, and so I don't know. We're at the point now where we know this isn't working, and Boca knows it's not working. Pineda's, they're just doing what he's trying to do. But it's definitely, it needs a whole overhaul, for sure. And I hope that when they do overhaul it, they do look inside MLS a little bit to get a guy with a little bit more MLS experience, because it seems like bringing in some of these guys from outside MLS in the midfield just hasn't been working very well for us.
Mm-hmm.
So, going to the comment with Bruno, I mean, what about the Joseph situation? I mean, and it seems like we touch this subject like literally every week, but I mean, what happens with Joseph? I mean, like literally, the guy hasn't really brought you anything ever since he's, gotten his knee cleared up. So what happens? I mean, do you try to keep him, try to, get him to go on the GAM deal, or what's the deal with him? I mean, what can you expect out of, you know, both parties, what Atlanta offers him and what Joseph wants out of Atlanta
Talk to
in the
me.
off season?
Talk to me at this point next year. That's my answer.
It's too late. My torch to that
Next
is that
year.
it's too late. It's too late at that point. I think you need to make the decision at this point, in December. After
Yeah.
this year, you've got 1 year left. I was listening to something Five Straight Final did with Tom Bogert, and he's a smart guy, and he still thinks there's some value in Joseph around the league, and maybe this franchise needs a reboot, and not a full reboot as far as the roster goes, but maybe in culture. And Joseph's one of those guys that's been sitting back there, and I don't know how he is. There's a guy that there's probably a different guy in the locker room as opposed to the guy that's very vocal when things go wrong. I'm not sure, but you got a guy that hasn't been scoring. You got a guy that also hasn't got service. I understand that as well. But Joseph Martinez used to be able to create some stuff for himself, and he hasn't been able to do that much at all. He hesitates a lot of times. Instead of taking the shot, he passes, and that's probably a guy with not a lot of confidence right now. I understand that, but if he doesn't improve by the end of the season, I think you take what you can get, or try to get him on a GAM or TAM deal, whatever it's called these days.
Right.
And if he doesn't want to take that, then I think that realistically you need to go look around the league and open it up for, possibly, another striker that can, produce things on his own, and maybe a little bit younger too.
A striker around the league. I don't know.
Oh, but
It's
I mean, a
just-
striker. Well, I'm not saying a striker and like to trade him for another striker in MLS.
Yeah.
But you mean
Okay.
trading him in MLS?
Yeah.
You don't want him in MLS.
Well, I
I know
don't
you want him
I
here.
I know, but if it doesn't work out this year, like I said, if he doesn't,
I'm gonna
do
give my
anything-
opinion on that,
But he is
and
fine, though.
realistically, I don't think that Joseph will go to any other team in MLS. I don't think that he will play against Atlanta. That's how much respect that he has for the city, like how much love that he has. That I don't think that
he's gonna bounce around, bro. If it goes wrong, like you guys think, he's gonna bounce around the league.
I agree. I think that I think someone would take him on that last year, and then maybe
Yep.
try to negotiate, or even just see what he's got.
You know
left.
what I
He could be Dom
honestly
Dwyer.
think.
He could be Dom Dwyer next seat. Like he could legitimately be like a Dom Dwyer off the bench, or a team that has a little bit better of a of a midfield and an attack that can get him going. I mean, we saw what he did last year, and it was impressive when he technically saying he was playing on one leg. He's come into the season. He was apparently not healthy to start. Had another surgery. He's come back from the surgery. He says he's rejuvenated. I still don't often see the runs that a rejuvenated Joseph Martinez would be. Even if
Yeah.
it's 90% or 85%, I'm not seeing those runs from him at all. I see him most of the time when he's on the screen and someone's moving the ball forward, he's running backwards, and it's a lot, and it's worrisome. And this whatever you decide to do with Joseph Martinez, whether it's this offseason or next offseason, is going to potentially either move your franchise forward or it's going to move it more back. And I think that the risk is higher than the reward at this point. I just haven't seen it over the past couple of years. Yes, he's had some nice goals here and there. The Cincinnati goal was absolutely amazing last year. But it's just, some of them are just, him, just getting the perfect pass in the right place. He's not creating stuff for himself, hardly ever. So
No.
I don't know. I think that no matter what, though, you have to make the decision this winter, and you've got a new president coming in who's probably going to help, whether it's Boca make that decision, or hopefully somebody else, right? But I mean, you're going to have to make that decision this offseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the kicks to goal haven't been great either.
The timing, like, to get to the ball. I mean, definitely. I mean, there was. I mean, even last year, going back to last year, there was a lot of times where you look at, the opportunities that Atlanta United had, and I mean, there were, I don't want to say clear chances, but if you had a guy that like literally prime Joseph, I mean, he was gonna get to those balls, but the guy doesn't have it anymore. And I mentioned it on here before. You want to get a guy that's gonna give you that, that's gonna give you that presence in the box, that both center backs basically are not gonna be paying attention to anything, but that one guy in the box. And you had that with Joseph, in the beginning, in the first couple of years, but now it's like, I don't want to say they're having a field day, but the center backs that we're playing against, they seem to be literally just doing routine work. Like it seems like it was a practice, for them, where they're just heading the ball away, like the same scenario over and over again, basically.
I just feel like in Pineda's system, his role has completely changed because it's no longer focused on get Joseph in behind. That's not what I've seen literally all season. You could say, oh, he's not doing it. Maybe that's not his job anymore. And maybe if the striker link-up play was better, especially starting Cisneros again, that would help. Also, the Chicago game did him no favors. There were so many chances where it could have been laid off, and the guys just want to shoot, which doesn't make sense to me. It feels like what we saw with Dom Dwyer in that Orlando match, the link-up play. I feel like that's what Pineda wants from Joseph. He wants him to be like kind of like a support striker, but it doesn't make sense. But I feel like his role has changed from what we've seen in the past, and it's obviously not working. But
I mean, it did work a little under Boca, or not Boca, DeBoer. Like, I mean, he had that.
Sure.
He changed his play, and it definitely worked at times. Like, but he was able to do both. To your point, like he was able to make those runs. Remember that, that goal he scored. I think that random Atlanta United goal thing posted today. That goal against Philadelphia.
I wonder who runs that account.
Playoffs. What?
My boy Kyle.
I run that account, dude.
Okay. Well, yeah.
It's not rigged, by the way. It's not rigged. It's annoying because now I'm getting people all sad again. It's not rigged. I actually random it,
but it was nice. Like you saw that. Like he made that run, right?
Yeah. Well, I just don't think. And that's a very unique situation, by the way. That's like two center backs and then for freaking Junior Gressel. But now, what Pineda said all year about Cisneros getting in behind and seeing that Almada fantastic ball in the first half to Cisneros, it's just, I feel like his role is differentiated because Cisneros is that getting behind guy, which I don't know. I still think he's playing bad. He's got 12 games. and he'll start all 12 and be captain all 12. So he has a chance to show it. Let's prove it.
Got a whole bottle of wine handed to me, and this is the greatest night ever. And it's peach.
Damn. Hey, I want to live like Tommy one day. Talk
Yeah, on
about
a
being lit on a Wednesday night, bro. Hey, but hey, man. Before anything, I just want to, the Tommy rants.
Yeah, let's go. Like,
I have a response to this one too, probably.
That I'm sure you will. The Pineda rants are just out of control at this point. Like, I think that everybody knew what Pineda was. Everybody knew what we were getting with Pineda, and it was a rookie coach. And yes, people have made the comment that, why are you handing a rookie coach a team that is probably, one, it's the highest paid team in the league, and that's definitely a concern. And I get that. You have a club that has been burned on multiple coaches in a couple of years. You were looking for long term. You were looking for MLS experience. This is what you got. You knew you were going to have. Don't you do the quiet emojis on me, you jerk. But like a point of like you see your coach cause trouble, and this is like what a rookie coach does. Is this Almada thing last week? Like we went into that right. Almada didn't start, and then Sam Jones asked the question like, is it a personal thing? Is it off the field issues? And instead of just saying no, he said it's everything. Like, you don't do that. And it caused it got Boca to be on the pregame show of the Chicago game. Like, how insane is that little thing that the coach did? And then Doug had a one-on-one private conversation with Pineda, like afterwards. Like, everything that caused is what a rookie coach does. And yes, there's a lot of issues with this, but like why I wanted to rant was, there's a chat that a lot of us are in on Twitter, and like I saw somebody say, "Oh, well, look at some of the signings that we have, the Mexican signings that we've brought in. If they're not working out, they're Pineda's fault." Like, you have limited salary cap. We can't blame everything on Pineda. The roster build is obviously terrible. At this point, it's worse because of the injuries. Like, everything's bad. Like, there's no coach that's going to come in that's going to make DeJohn a better player. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And a lot of these guys, it's just like FIFA. You've got a guy here that is going to be, rated a 50, and maybe a better coach could get him to a 52, but it's just not going to happen. Hold on, let me sip my coffee. That's
Doug!
Yeah, no, I agree.
Pep would not make DeJohn better, Zilf. Shut up. Give me back to the corner. But like, it is what it is at this point in the season. What we'd like to see going forward is just better decisions. And you're obviously getting healthier, and you have to go for every win possible. Earlier I was saying that you got to start the young kids. I disagree with that at this point. I changed my mind on it. Saying start the young kids, see what you got. No, you need to start your best lineup available. And when you get your guys back, you start them, because you got to see how everything works. And that even, that includes, when Brooks comes back, getting Brooks in, working your subs, seeing how it was supposed to work before all these injuries. And obviously we're not getting everybody back, but having Wiley come in as a sub, which was what he was supposed to be all season, right? He was never supposed to be a starter. Having him come late as a forward. You obviously brought in another transfer. With the midfield, I'm not really sure, but see what you could do. We talked about earlier, getting all your DPs in the lineup at once. See what that could look like. Screw around with that. Sosa needs to start every single game for the rest of the season. He has no excuse not to, because he hasn't played in a year. So you got to keep getting Sosa into the lineup every single game. So I don't know. The Pineda hate is, I understand why it's there and why people are frustrated, but I don't think all of this is really on him at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Fuck Pineda, bro.
Get out of here. Be Pineda curious like me.
Like, the rants are silly. He's just like a kid on Xbox. He just gets mad and then he just keeps going. It's silly.
No, definitely, and I mean, that kind of goes back, to like the whole, point, earlier, the prodigy versus the mentor. I mean, I honestly, legit, I feel like Pineda is, uh, he's gonna get a hard awakening, when it comes to playing against Seattle. I don't think that the schedule the rest of the season gets any easier, except, I guess I will argue the next coming month against DC and against Cincinnati. I mean, you could argue those are two games that Atlanta should and could win, but I mean, you just never know. Realistically, you never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's MLS. Any team can beat any team at any time. But it's time to go on a roll, and I think you have to get points out of how many of these last 12. Like, hopefully you can win 6, but I doubt it. But I think points on every away game and home, just going to unbeaten run. Like,
I mean, listen, and I said it.
For the first
I said
time
it on
this
Twitter, man. I said it on Twitter. We always ball out in August, man. 2019 it happened. That's when we won Campeones Cup, U.S. Open Cup. We made that run. Where we made it into second place into the Eastern Conference. So then what was another last year, also, they made a run in August as well when Valentino and then Pineda took over as well. So I mean, that was interesting, but hopefully, man, they were able to get some momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a hard schedule. It's I think it's the hardest schedule left in the league.
It is.
And we said this when the season started. We said they had to win early on because the end of the year was rough. Well, they didn't win early on. They struggled. And it's just not going to get easier. And I don't know if they can win more than 2. Not sure. I disagree with that because I mean look at the opponent.
But we're still a good team though if we play how we can.
But see, here's the problem.
We can still stack our roster.
One of the guys from the MLS Extra Time posted a picture of like our offense, like moving forward. I think it was Arujo and Joseph. And literally nobody else was in the screen, and like they just
fucking Doyle.
Yeah, Doyle, right? And I think Almada just ran through everybody, and like he could have possibly scored there. He had a terrible shot.
Yeah.
But like this team doesn't work as a squad, and it's obviously a combination. Like a lot of it you have to blame the coaching staff for some of it. You have to, but also you got to blame the players as well. And there's times where it looks like these guys have never played together. And you take everything at the end of the season, you really have to just go back from the beginning into the end and think about what you saw, right? And just everything. The comments made by Pineda, the comments made by Joseph, transfers that are going to be in and out at the end of this season. It's really going to paint a picture of what really happened. And maybe there's a Felipe article that at the end of this year where someone's going to actually come out and say everything that happened. I don't know. And Bruno's got a good point, man. Like the Manchester United of MLS, like I don't think it's that bad because I think Manchester United's real bad right now, with just some of their
no, I definitely see like where he's coming from though, because before, and I mentioned this I think in the Twitter spaces after the game, literally the same thing with Manchester United. Like before, they had a like a system, where they brought in players that literally fit in the system. Afterwards, they come in and they literally just bring in flashy players that so it's, they just play individually. There's no cohesion. I mean, yeah, they won a couple of trophies here and there, but I mean, you're kind of looking at the same thing, when it comes to like how the front office has somewhat built the roster. When it comes to that, you're just trying to make money off of players to a certain degree. I mean, but Manchester United, they have not won or gotten any money literally from any signings, I believe.
But
No.
I mean, Zilf says, are we not real bad? I mean, we are, but and I'm not going to use football as the example because it's completely different. But when you look at basketball or you look at hockey, like if you have a great offense that works, like even if our offense was just fully going, you're still going to have a lot of trouble. One, building, from the back, right, to move forward because your defense is terrible. You're always consistently trying to, you can't defend and you can't move forward if you're constantly just on the defense. And the Hawks were this way last year. Their defense was like one of the worst in the league. They were scoring okay, but they couldn't play any defense, so that was terrible. And we just saw, nobody watches hockey here, so I don't even know why I'm saying this, but one of the highest scoring teams of all time just got kicked out of the conference finals and got destroyed because they were one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Like it's what happens. You can't go down 1-0 in the first 5 minutes every game and trying to play catch up. And that's literally what this team does. And like I've always said, and I always said it didn't happen this week because it proved me right. But like if I would normally when you start like this bad lineup and we were always throwing everybody in the second half, like if you're tied, then at half, then you're probably going to win. And like I still feel that way.
Yeah.
Like when we start these bad lineups, but we don't. We're always getting scored on in the first 15 minutes. We're tied for the league worst at it. So it is what it is. And you could talk about how great of an offense you have, but you have to have a defense and you have to have a midfield. And we don't have that. Defense is getting a little bit better, but yes, hockey's this thing with sticks and skates. That's what it is. My asses.
Yeah. But what he was saying about can you blame Pineda? You can't. Maybe on the selections, the team selection, but on the pitch performance, no. And you could say he plays a dead system, but I mean he has dead players. So what's he supposed to do
Yeah,
about it?
and I
And
mean we even discussed that last week. I mean that when it comes to that, I mean Pineda has to be able to bring out the best of the players. When it comes to the practice, when it comes to the games, and uh, to a certain degree, yeah, I feel like certain games, you see a better version in the second half of the team, but honestly, it's rare when when we come out and really put a game to bed when it comes to either us being on the lead 1-0, or even being down, which that's always a killer because for Atlanta United, you can see the goal, within the first 10, 15 minutes, and, you're chasing that goal, and literally teams just sit back, and, there's no idea, there's no identity, there's nothing, there's no cohesion going forward. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot that, you don't, there's a lot of blames like literally everywhere. You have the front office, you have an experienced coach, you have injury issues. Literally, I mean, you have excuses everywhere. And it sounds, I don't want to say bad, but you're saying excuses, but literally it is, and you just have so many things that are going on that you just literally have to wait until next season. Honestly, playoffs are gone for me. I mean, there's no way we're making the playoffs. Literally.
Sure. I mean, you could say that. That's fine. But I'm saying, I mean, if we just have to start on the front foot, and just can't give up a goal because we switch off. It's silly. And I mean, if we score first or it's 0-0 at halftime, we'll get a point at least. But yeah.
I see
So
a
we're
bear
comparing
there
Pineda
behind
to
Tommy.
we're comparing Pineda to Ole. That's funny. I like that. Well, that's tough.
Well, guys, I think we've pretty much covered it all. Before anything, subscribe to Fila Sports Podcast on YouTube, on Facebook, follow Tommy, Let's Go Ducks 96. Pineda, maybe in, maybe out. We'll see next year.
I'm also Pineda, maybe.
Yeah.
Throw me on
So
that train.
yeah, also follow
You're
James
Pineda
at
out, so
Cowdomus 26. Mine Resurge
Run it.
Spike ATL, and thank you guys. Oh, before anything, we're supposed to have Joe Patrick on next week. Hopefully,
Ooh, fun.
hopefully try to get him on the same schedule Wednesday at 8.
Technically, that's my boss, so cool.
Oh, sweet man.
Damn.
So
Yeah, who
hopefully you're
gives
not
you
hammered
access?
this time, but nah, I'm just playing.
Who gives Tommy
Maybe I won't have a
access?
drink on that one.
Who seriously gave Tommy access to the Dirty South Soccer account? That
I have access, but I don't
Just-
touch it unless it's Spaces. So, just saying.
I don't know about that one.
But yeah, come hang out with us on Spaces. I'll be back this week.
Yeah.
There's no WWE pay-per-views, so I will. I'll be hanging out after the game. If you want to talk about
It
a
was
win,
having
we
more
will
fun
talk
watching
about a win.
people get body slammed than watching
Logan Paul.
Joseph miss goals.
Yeah, watching Logan Paul go off the top rope.
Yeah.
Let's go.
There you go.
Hey.
But yeah,
That's always
come
something.
hang out in Spaces. We like. There's a mailbag option now, so if you don't like to come talk,
Yeah, that's pretty
you
cool.
can
I
send us
saw
a
that last week.
mailbox. It's nice to have. I didn't know that was a thing. I guess I can. I didn't know. Like all of a sudden, I was getting alerts on my phone. I'm like, why are people asking me questions? I forgot that I have access to that account. It was like I was getting all these questions nonstop. I was like, oh, these are good questions. But yeah, we had a lot of good ones that were coming in. So if you're shy and don't want to talk, hop on.
Just put me into the thing before like 2 hours. Just put me in there so I can yell at Bo and Robert and all the guys.
Yeah, we'll get Bo in there. We'll get Bo. We'll get everyone in and
like an hour after.
Well, I'll be at the bar watching the game, so I'll be on afterwards.
National TV in Columbus or wherever the heck you are,
Cleveland. Yeah, so it'll be a good time. So come hang out.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, James and Tommy, for your time, and we'll see you guys next week around the same time, and like I said, hopefully,
more points.
Hopefully, I pray because Lord,
I don't want to talk about Boca.
When was it? March that that the Kansas game?
Yeah.
Was that? It was like the last day of February or something like that, or
literally, that's the last time that I was there that we had a win. First game of the season.
I mean,
I've been to one game this year and it was a win, baby. So that's
there you go. The RSL game feels like a year ago. I'm not gonna lie, and that was
it does
2 weeks.
It's insane when you hear about it and you hear people talk about wins and you're thinking back oh, we haven't had a win since this long, or we haven't won on the road since April.
We haven't won back to back since 2021.
No, it literally seems like that way. Literally, I mean, you have a win once a month, once every 5 weeks.
Stop!
It's wild. Real quick, because one thing we didn't talk about, and it'll be super quick.
Let's go.
So Bocanegra, I don't know if you heard, was on 92 in the game before the game, and then he was also on Wednesday, and then I know he did a media appearance, I think, or he's doing a media appearance tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I listened to him on 9.9 game. It was pretty much nothing. A lot of it was talking about injuries and stuff like that, but I'm hoping that people actually ask some in our media, ask some decent questions.
What is it about?
I'm sure they're going to talk a little bit about Mascara coming into the lineup, but there really wasn't much, and that's one of the questions I was asking Joe on when we did one of our special spaces. Is who's going to be the face of Atlanta United in the media wise? Well, I will tell you, anytime I've ever listened to that man talk, he sucks. He doesn't breed any type of positivity at all. And they're going to need to find some. Brad Guzan was on 92.9 the other day talking. I was like, oh, is Brad going to be that guy? It's just interesting to me. You're going to need a face of this team, especially on a radio, 92.9 games, the only, is one of the biggest radio stations as far as MLS coverage goes. So you're going to need a face to be on there every single week. And let's face it, a lot of our players that we have do not have personality. We've
Bring
lost
him
a
up,
lot of those
Tommy.
guys.
Bring him up,
Who?
Mr. TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Damn it, I'm out of here. You know
You
what?
should-
I was gonna do my first one without bringing up Jurgen Damm, and then here we go. Here we go. I try to be nice.
We should put Boca on like the Darren Eel skits. I wonder how that would be received.
Yeah, he should do like the what's it, the cryptid tweets.
Yeah,
Before every
everyone loves him.
transfer.
But yeah, I mean, we just don't need drama-filled week for Atlanta. We don't need that. As long as
Well-
Pineda's not involved, whatever.
Well, depending on whatever comes
Drama
up
free.
tomorrow, we might if there's anything of interest, which I highly doubt there will be, we'll do a special spaces for it, but I just don't see it happening.
Boca is a man of the people.
Yeah, I definitely see him out there. Like,
imagine
Could
he's
you
up front
imagine
doing
if
tailgates.
Boca? I feel like
Somebody
I'm in the Blair
gonna-
Witch Project right now with how my camera is. Could you imagine Boca at tailgates? Holy shit!
Ain't no
you-
way,
That would be
bruh.
cool. I don't
No,
Somebody
it
gonna
wouldn't.
go straight.
No, it wouldn't. There'd be some drunk guy like just walking up to him, telling him to get the hell out of the tailgate. Like it would. That would be the worst thing. I mean, it'd be great for us to watch, but like it would be absolutely terrible.
You know, I
Sorry.
ain't even gonna lie, man. Look, last year at the end of the game,
no.
the last game of the season, right? So I'm sitting there in the club section in the tunnel, right? And you know, all the players coming out and everything. And then, you know, they'll come out like 15, 20 minutes afterwards, you know, and they'll sit there and like sign everybody's like, you know, stuff or whatever. And Boca comes like, you know, walking through the field, like coming from the field, like into the tunnel area. And and I'm like, Boca. And he's like, you know, I'm like, you know, and I have like my phone, like literally like I'm about to take a picture. And like, you know, I did take a picture, right? And like afterwards, I'm like, Boca, you should get the hell out, man. But sign Messi before you leave. And like this, like literally, he just like looked at me and like kind of surprised and like just kind of laughed. And like I was like, all right, that one kind of
You got a
smoother than
picture?
I thought it would.
You got a picture with Boca?
Yeah, I did, man.
You got to post it on
He's a
Twitter.
beautiful man. He's a beautiful man.
Put that on Twitter.
Real-
It's like
Never
Boca is
mind. The sunset.
Just like the sunset's
It's like a horror
we're gonna
movie.
sunset this season soon. It's gonna
Put
be
your
over,
face
and
really close. It's like there we go.
No, but no, hold on. Let me seriously. I have that picture with Boca on here. Let me pull it up before.
what's the Blair
Before
Witch?
we-
It's like real close in the nostrils. He's like, I'm so scared.
It's like the
No,
the
it was
Riddler.
fun. No, you know what's funny though, because like, but right before that, you know, like I told my girlfriend, I was like, you know, he was walking by, and I was like, hey, that's Boca, and then she was like, isn't that guy you talk trash about on like Twitter? And I'm like, yeah, but it's cool. I'm pretty sure he'll be all right. So
Let me
yeah,
tell everybody,
hold
you
up.
guys, a horror story. It's about the 2022 Atlanta United season.
You can't
Ain't
tell.
no way. Post it on Twitter, bro. Post it on Twitter.
You look like you're 10.
What the hell are you talking about?
This 2021?
Yeah,
Looks like
that
you-
was last year.
Oh, it looks like you have no hair. That's what makes you look young.
No, it's because literally I have a white hat and like the background is white, so it looks like I'm bald. But yeah, now I'll post it on there, and I'll be like, I'll post some stupid stuff on there. But but yeah, man, that was
I'm
my
gonna tell you
experience
guys
with
a
Boca.
horror story right now about how Jurgen Damm came back to Atlanta United in 2023. All right, I need to go get another beer. I gotta go.
Yeah, man.
I'm gonna open this
we're
bottle
outta
of
here, man.
wine
Let me end the stream.
Wednesday.
Thank you guys, you know, for the ones that were on here. Chris,
Yeah, thanks for
hopefully I
hanging
get
out,
to
Chris.
hopefully I get to catch you at the tailgates. At the tailgate, I mean this weekend. So let me go ahead and end this thing.
See you guys.
But yeah.